Good morning. Keep clapping. I think there's me and one other person between you and lunch, right? So hang in there. You're going to make it. I am also starving, and my stomach is trying to process too much Hungarian wine, which, by the way, is really good, but not to be drunk in massive quantity. So thanks for the great introduction and also the invitation from Max, Vitaly, and Mike. It's really a pleasure to be here with you all today. Just a little bit of extra background. So you can hear by my accent, I'm American, but I'm actually a transplant into Europe. I've lived in Paris for the past 16 years. So I started my work with Netscape. If some of you are old enough to remember Netscape, most of you probably not. But that was kind of the beginning. And I was out in Silicon Valley for that and then moved to Paris. I spent almost 7 years with Google. So I was the first recruiter for Google in Europe. I built their staffing. I built the staffing organization. I saw Google grow in Europe from 100 people to 5,000 people when I left in 2009. And then for the past 5 years, I've been working with early stage startups, either via an accelerator I was involved with called Hack Forward, or recruiting and doing talent management consulting, which is what I'm doing full time today with my own business. So I want to talk to you today about culture, and I want to start off with this morbid slide to inform you that most of you will end up here. And I'm sorry about that. I mean, well, your startups, right? I mean, that's the statistics, right? I mean, well, we will all end up there at some point personally, but let's just keep it focused on the business. So this sucks, right? But it's reality, but you know that's the reality, and in any case, you're going for it, which is great. And what you want to get to is, of course, this, right? The sexy, flashy unicorn startup, right? But of course, to get there, it takes a lot of hard work. And what I want to impress upon you today is something that I believe in really, really deeply. It's about creating the culture at your startup and how that really can drive a massive amount of how things turn out and how important it is. So I know one of the earlier presenters asked how many founders are here and how many people are in startups and so on. But what I want to know is how many people here are in startups under 20 people? Okay, so the majority of the room. So that's good. So what I want to know is how many of you have had deep discussions, I mean real serious discussions about what kind of culture do you want your company to have? Okay, so a handful. Better than Poland, but not not doing so well either. Okay? So the thing is you really have to start thinking about this from day one, because the longer you leave it, the harder it is to actually create a culture that you want, right? Especially as founders, you have the opportunity to drive the culture, and if you don't action that and work on it from day one, the other people who you bring into your company are going to take over the culture, and it might not turn out the way that you want it to. So let me show you a bunch of companies. Does anyone know what these companies have in common? No. No. Okay, it's an unfair question because it's impossible to get the answer. So they're all on the slide. No. No, they all won awards at TechCrunch Europas. Okay? So I was looking for a set of companies that theoretically should be really great, right? And I guess if you win awards at TechCrunch Europas, you should be really great, right? So I said, perfect. I'll take this sample set and I'll go look into how they present their culture, right? Because it should be awesome. So I first went to Zenmate, and I was happy that I saw right on the page, Zenmate culture. I said, perfect, they're going to talk about it. But if you read further into the page, actually, they don't say anything very interesting. It's kind of the standard line, right? Like, work here, we're great, we're cool, we work on hard problems, you'll have fun, et cetera, et cetera. So I wasn't so thrilled with that. I looked at BlaBlaCar, who's been in the news lately. I think BlaBlaCar is a fascinating company, doing extremely well in Europe. But when I go to the website and I try to find something about what's the company like, what's the culture like, all I can think of is that this is really blah, blah. Right? I mean, seriously, there's nothing there, right? It's boring. It's not interesting, right? So if you don't read the tech press or anything, you don't know that BlaBlaCar is really exciting. You look at this, you're like, fuck that, I'm out of here. This is the next one. I've even forgotten who it is, but look at what they're telling you. Who doesn't tell you this stuff? Who doesn't tell you, come work here, you're going to take ownership, you're going to have fun, we have hard challenges, we've got free food, right? I mean, everybody has that, right? It doesn't say anything. And it goes on and on and on and on, right? So I couldn't find one in that whole list that I thought was really cool. This is SoundCloud, right? It's the same thing. It's absolutely, positively boring. Okay? But, I mean, great company, right? Well, I mean, you decide. But so anyway, right? Here's the thing, right? People don't know what you don't tell them, right? You have to explain how awesome your culture is. And if you don't have one yet, you better get quickly working on that. And I'll give you some ideas on how you can do that. So take a look at Buffer, which I think is one of the best examples. How many people know Buffer? Okay, so Buffer is cool because, well, they say they're transparent and they really are. And also, to me, they're cool because in the very, very, very beginning, they spent a long time thinking about what do we want to be, and of course, it's right there and shareable. Now, just take a second and look at the list. It's a lot different than the 5 or 6 other slides I showed you, right? Every single point means something. And maybe some of you can relate to that. And maybe some of you look at some of those points and say, hey, that's cool. That's a great company. I can really relate to that. I might want to go work at that company, right? I believe in these things. These things are important to me, right? Buffer got that right. And when Buffer, most people know, is about the transparency part. I don't know if you know, but all of the salaries of everyone at Buffer is published online, right? So when they say they're transparent, they mean it, right? Every startup today talks about transparency, but who does that? I'm not necessarily advising it, but at least you stick to what you say, right? And that means these things aren't just words on paper, they're real, right? And that's how you need to come across. There's another one, HubSpot, which, to be honest, I know a lot less about, but I think they've also done a very, very good job illustrating what the culture is like at their company. Again, if you read some of those items, you'll say, yes, that's different, right? And people see these things and they want to know more, okay? So everybody knows Netflix. Maybe some of you have been on SlideShare and have looked at the Netflix culture slide deck. It's like 130 pages. It's worth it. It's totally worth it to look at it. It's an excellent, excellent deck. If you want to see this particular slide, which I happen to really like, you have to search for the original deck on SlideShare because it's not in the newer version. I don't know why. But what I really, really like about this slide is this is not only just a values sheet, but it's a hiring guide, okay? And what is difficult for all of us when we're hiring is, to be honest, you don't really know what you want. You don't really know how you're evaluating people. Most of the decisions you're taking are gut, right? You're like, this feels good. I think this guy's going to work out, right? You haven't yet taken the time, which you need to come up with something like this that says, these are the things we want in the people that we hire. So you go into that interview and you have some kind of better formulated process on how to hire them, okay? So obviously we're not going to sit here and read this thing, but do take a look at it. I'm giving you a lot of homework, okay? So now you're obviously totally depressed, okay, because all of you have shitty culture, but we're going to help you, okay? That's what we're here for. So first, the worst slide in the whole deck, but something that I wanted to get out there is, take a look at these things, right? Go search for these items because there's, golden nuggets in all of these presentations that will help you think about and get inspired about how you might be able to do that. This is great. Everybody's taking a picture. You guys are totally into it, right? I'll just leave it there because I see it's like paparazzi. Okay, anyway, the deck can be online or you can come see me later. So this is the hardest part right here, okay? This is the hardest part when it comes to setting up your culture and, quite frankly, for hiring, right? You don't make enough time. You don't make enough time. And you have to figure out a way to make more time. So let me tell you about one of the things that impressed me the most at Google. From the very early days, when they hired Eric Schmidt as CEO, every Sunday afternoon, Eric, Larry, and Sergey would go to Subway, Why? I don't know. That's really depressing, actually. But never mind. You pick your own place. But they went to Subway, and they talked about what they wanted Google to be, right? Google didn't become Google just by magic, right? It didn't just happen. These guys put massive amount of energy and effort into figuring out what they wanted this company to look like, right? And a lot of it was around the culture of the company, which is extremely strong. When you go look at those documents on Google core values or Google 10 things we believe in or whatever they are, I can tell you, you don't need that up on the wall inside the company because it's in the company. You just feel it, right? It works. And that's by design, not by chance. Okay? So, you got to think about, when can I make time to do this stuff, right? Because it's critically important. When people say to you, hiring is the most important thing, everybody agrees, right? But how much time do you put into developing a hiring plan or a hiring strategy that will ensure that you get the best people, right? How many people say we only hire the best people? How many? Raise your hand. Do you hire the best people? And the people who don't raise your hand, who the hell are you hiring? No, but the fact of the matter is, not everyone can hire the best people because it's a limited supply, right? You can't. But if you want to, right, you have to take it extremely seriously, and there's lots of things you need to do to make that happen. I mean, look at this quote, right? This is Joel Spolsky. You probably have read his stuff before, but this quote's been around for years. The best guys are 10x better than the rest. Who would you rather have on your team? The 10x guy or not, right? I mean, it's simple math, right? You want the 10x guy, but you can't just get the 10x guy, right? You have to attract the 10x guy to your company, and you have to make sure that it's the 10x guy. So this is hard work, and you have to figure out a way to build that. And hiring takes time and patience, and a lot of startups are in a rush. Of course, because you've just raised money, or if you haven't, when you raise money, your investors are going to be on your back to hire people fast because that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to grow, right? And that's where you make a lot of mistakes because you compromise and you say, shit, we're just so underwater, let's get somebody on board, right? One toxic employee in a startup can kill you, right? So let that scare you enough to put you in a situation that you say, okay, you know what? This is super important, and we're going to do everything we can to make sure that we get the right person in the door, because that's going to help our startup move forward. So more homework, okay? Because I would have to talk to you for a couple of days to help you figure this out. But if I hate business books, okay? I hate them. But the first one in particular, if you want to read one book about hiring people, read the first one. It's by a guy named George Anders. And what's interesting about his book is he talks about all different kinds of companies and sectors and how they do actually hire the very best people. So of course there's Google in there, but there's also nonprofits, government, military. And so it's a fun read, right? And it moves quickly, so try that out. But also, if you want to look at the Google stuff, because I think we did a pretty good job of hiring really excellent people, they talk obviously a lot about hiring. So you've figured out now that you're going to hire the best people, right? But that's only the beginning, because now you need the best people to be high performers, right? And produce. So you have to do performance management, which is this terrible HR word that nobody wants to hear because it means meetings and performance reviews and right? I mean, nobody likes it, right? Nobody likes it. But nobody likes it because most of the time it's not done well, okay? But if you want to get your best people even better, you have to invest time into this. So quick questions. How many people meet one-to-one with whoever they're working for or with every week? Okay? Not bad, half. Okay? How many people have team meetings every week? Even more. Wow, this is a lot better than Poland. I mean, either the Poles are shy or they just don't like talking to each other. But so the thing is, right, most managers focus on the poor performers, right? Because you think, well, this guy's doing really well, so let him go, do well. This guy's not doing so well, so I need to help them do better. And actually, it should be the inverse, because it's really hard to turn the poor performer around. You're probably better off letting him go and letting him go quickly, right? It's the reality. It's the reality, right? Again, remember this toxic environment thing, right? And it's hard to fire people, right? I mean, it is not fun. I've done it many, many times, and not because I'm an asshole, but it's just, well, maybe I am. But the thing is you got to get those people out quick, okay? And you got to focus on the people who are doing really well. And the thing is that if you focus and put energy and effort and you meet with their people and your meetings are constructive, why everyone hates meetings? Because they're useless. But if you have constructive meetings, you can do a lot with people. You can push high performers to do even better, right? I'm the type of person that thrives under that kind of environment. When I've got somebody going, whoosh, you know, more, right? I mean, there are people like that, and you can get so much more done by really focusing on them. So you got to think about your one-to-one meetings, you got to think about your weekly team meetings, and you got to put some kind of performance structure into place. And again, I know you hate this, so I will give you a small suggestion. I found this tool, it's called Week Done. One of the reasons I like it is because finally a startup did something that is kind of based very closely around Google's model of performance management. And the good thing about it is that it's very, very simple. And it's not time consuming, right? So I highly advise you to take a look at that or something like that where you can start generating a cycle of communication and feedback within your company to work on the performance management. And I'm not an investor or shareholder in this company. So back to kind of the culture area and some things that you can do, right? So many people think about culture or show culture when you visit office like Logmein or Prezi or anything. Is like, you know, check out our games room, check out our free food, check out, you know, the massage or whatever. To me, this stuff isn't really what it's about, right? It looks cool. It's great marketing, right? I mean, Google has great pictures, right? If you like slides, they got slides. This guy seems to be chilling out in a really nice office, getting a lot of work done, right? These are massage rooms at Google in Zurich, and yeah, you can get a massage. This is my favorite room at Google where you can sit on a massage chair, listen to soft music, and watch beautiful fish. But that's not the culture. Right? That's not the culture. I mean, it's great because they have a ton of money and they can do that. But, you know, this isn't it. That's free food at Twitter. There's a pool table. This is the stuff that's real and defines how people think about your company. Okay, so I'll show you some examples from bigger companies. I'll show you some examples from smaller companies. But what I try to do is pick out things that actually any of you can do no matter what size the company, more or less. Right? So Facebook has this thing called Hack a Month, and basically what it is when an engineer is finished with their current project, they can choose what project to go work on next for a month as a test to see if that's where they want to work. That's very generous. That's very open in the sense of saying, you know, we believe in you a lot and we want you to be really excited and passionate about what you're doing, so go find the one you want, right? As opposed to what most other companies do, which are assign you to the next project, right? Dropbox does something a little bit different called a hack week, where 1 week a year they drop everything and everybody gets to hack out whatever they want, whether it's related to the company or maybe even not, and it's going to come up with new ideas and new products, and people get excited around that type of event as well. And there's no reason that a small startup can't pull off something like that. That's Jeff Bezos, you know him. This is about getting a feeling into the company. Okay, so if you know Amazon is a relatively frugal company, right? Or you can say cheap. And so he wanted people to understand that in the day-to-day, and so he brought these desks that are basically old doors to say, you know, we're not going to buy fancy, expensive desks, but we're just going to, you know, construct these door table things. The funny part about it is that those desks are actually really expensive, but it gives you the impression that they're not. These are T-shirts from Palantir. And so Palantir does something where every release that's done, everybody who worked on the release gets a T-shirt. It seems super simple, but the people who get these T-shirts are really attached to them, right? They're very proud that they worked on that release, and it's some way to celebrate it. It's some way to show to everybody that you were there, you worked on it, and as time goes by, the T-shirts become cult items because the first ones, of course, are very rare and limited because the company was smaller. But that's a simple thing to do to celebrate your success. This guy's from VMware, a much larger company, and one of their values is very much around charity and charity giving, so they spend a lot of time helping their employees contribute to the community, which again, you can do really at any level. This is one of my favorites. I forget the name of the company, very small company. But basically, a lot of times when you finally hire that great person, they show up on the first day and it's a horrible experience. Because startups are chaos and that's fine and we all know that. But it's really not cool to actually walk into a new job on your first day and have nothing. Right? Like, I mean, barely a desk, right? So what this company does is they task the employee who joined the most recently to build a welcome kit for the next person to come into the company. And so they research the person a little bit, find out what they like, and they make a little package for them, right? Super simple, but it's personalized, and you come into the company and you feel like, wait, somebody's thinking about me here, and that makes me feel good, right? And so it's a little extra, it's a little tiny thing, but it can make a difference. This is from Wooga, big games company in Berlin. And they do a couple of things that I really, really like. They offer their employees the opportunity to share basically about different technologies or tools or processes that they're working on, and that's open to the whole company. So you basically sign up and say, I've got this to share, who's interested in coming to see me give a talk about it, and then they increase the knowledge of everyone in the company. Same thing with open weekly meetings. So all of their weekly meetings in the company for the different groups are open to anyone, right? Once you grow past, I would say, 5 people, it's surprising how you don't think about the fact that many times people won't know everything that's going on in the company, right? You as founders will think everybody knows, but believe me, they don't know, right? Even if you say, well, I told them, I said it to them, we had a team meeting, I told everybody. You have to repeat all the time for the vision that you want to present, the direction you want to present, the strategy that you want to present to get through. And this is another way of keeping open and transparent and involving people in a lot of communication. Finally, this is a picture of Google, and they implemented something called Googler to Googler, which was basically a platform where anybody in the company could propose a training of basically any kind to anyone who wanted to take it. So I thought it was really cool because you could get anything from learning macros in Excel to doing salsa dancing to cooking chicken soup. It didn't matter what the subject was there. It was, there's a lot of knowledge in this company. There's a lot of knowledge even in a small company that can be shared, and other people are interested in learning. And don't forget that one of the top criteria that people think about when looking for a new job is that they want learning opportunities. And this is a very easy way to offer it, and it actually becomes fun and different and interesting. So, like 2 minutes? So, do you know what this is? This is your life. Okay, so this is just something that I think went viral on the internet maybe a couple of years ago. It's called the Holstein Manifesto. It's just one of those things that you read and you're like, wow, that's pretty cool. So you can, if you really like it, I think you can buy a poster. Again, it's not my company. But the reason that I'm showing you this is because, click, is because I think you should do this. Right? I think you should create a culture manifesto for your company. I think you should work on something like that until you feel like you've got something to put up on your website or put up on your wall or whatever that says, this is what we're all about, this is what we believe in, and God damn it, sounds really good. Right? I mean, that's what you want to achieve. So I hope with my speed talk this morning that I've been able to give you some tips and ideas and some inspiration on how to create a culture which I think will help your company succeed. Thank you very much.